So, Atomic Blonde, am I right? I'm you here.
Atomic Blonde is directed by David Leitch and stars Charlize Theron and James McAvoy and some other guys, but they're minor roles, so we're not going to talk about them. Yeah, Sophia Boutella. That's
John
it.
Goodman.
Yeah.
But then the rest are filler.
So we're going to talk about our impressions on this movie. As always, we're going to do the good and then the bad and then the meh, but not in that order. But we're going to start with the good stuff. And by the way, with me today is Daniel, who's from...
The movie manual.
Yeah. And you write for a site, right?
Get Real Movies, yep.
Yeah.
It's a cool site.
Very good.
Thanks,
so,
man.
we're going to start with the good stuff. And we have a nice document right here. But notes doesn't flip upside down, so we're going to have to crane our necks for a little bit. Okay. So, the action, I think, because this is one of the directors of John Wick, the original one.
Yes. And I'd say he actually does a really good job crafting the action.
Yeah.
And just, it's the kind of stunt work and choreography that you really admire, the kind of movie that you watch and sit down and point out the action. So this is really well shot.
I felt like this was kind of a John Wick movie, but with a better story around it.
Yeah. It's a bit more well structured with the way they tell the story.
Yeah.
In an interrogation room.
That's another point. It kind of, it's a weird way of, it has like a kind of unique way of cutting between two scenes that take place at different time frames, or one plot and then another scene. And it was cool, and it was like you're being taken along for the story that she's telling.
Yeah, and you really get a feel for the type of character she is. Like, with the way her personality is in these action scenes and in, like, the past parts. But the way that she tells the story and the way she speaks in the interrogation room shows a different side of her. And it's just a really cool way to show the character.
And speaking of characters, which we're all about segues today, I think the main performances, which were the first two that I mentioned, Charlize Theron and James McAvoy, were pretty strong. And I liked their characters, and they portrayed them very well, I think.
Yeah. This is, like, something that's a bit different for Charlize Theron. It's not... I don't think she's done a British accent before, not that I can recall.
It wasn't that bad, though, I don't think.
Yeah,
it was fairly good for a first time.
Yeah. And it really brought something new to her character's personality, and just she's kind of like
Britishness.
Yeah, kind of soft-spoken, I guess.
Yeah. And next up, the cinematography.
Stunning.
Yeah, this is a very, very stylish movie at times, and it I think the cinematography reflects that very well. Like, there's some really cool shots and transitions, and like all around, it's very, very interesting to watch.
Yeah. They use all kinds of different neon-colored lights, and just the coloring and the visual style of it overall is just something really unique, and it really captures the time period very well as the tone of the film.
By the way, I forgot to mention something. This is kind of in the vein of cinematography. There are a lot of long takes in this movie, and the crown jewel of them is the stairwell fight, which I'm sure you've heard of, which is akin in my perspective to the pie eating scene in the Ghost Story, but it's better.
Different.
Yeah, because she's killing people.
Yeah.
But it's like an 8-minute unbroken shot of just like her going down a stairwell, and it's like, it was so impressive.
Yeah, and the take doesn't finish for about 50 minutes because this stairway part, it's all one take while she's killing these guys as she's going down the stairway.
There were a couple hidden cuts that I kind of noticed.
Yeah,
but
they do make it look really real.
Yeah, and then it continues.
Yeah, so it actually is still one take as they get into a car and start fleeing from the scene.
Yeah, so it's like a fight scene and car chase in one shot. So it's so impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty seamless. Even though that we're film lovers and we can tell this quite well, it's pretty seamless and it works out really well and it looks really cool.
Yeah. So those are some very positive points. And now we're gonna move on to the other sections. So first off, the meh section.
Contrived.
I think we're gonna get to that. I put that in the bad section.
Okay.
There's, I think, a lot of the non-lead performances, like they have like John Goodman and Toby Jones and some other guys, and they were just kind of there. Like you were saying, it felt like filler performances.
Exactly. It's just filler. They need to be there to drive the story because you can't have such a large scale movie with two characters.
But they didn't. I don't think those guys like. They were fine, but they didn't like bring much to it, and they didn't feel like they had great like strong characters.
They didn't really add anything. They just
and there was nothing that really set them apart from each other.
They created the backdrop more than the dialogue in the story.
Yeah, so like that's fine. We mentioned how the movie's structured kind of unconventionally, and sometimes, at most initially, it's kind of confusing because it's like you're jumping back and forth and you don't know. Like, some characters are in scenes in the past, but they're also in the present, and it's confusing sometimes.
Yeah, and just the way that you see the exact same characters that are in the interrogation room in a different place that's supposed to be the past. It's just a bit jarring when you see that for the first or second time, because you say, wait, have they switched rooms or something like that?
So, between the action sequences, of which there are a few, and of which are very good, I think that there's definitely a lot of downtime in this movie. I felt like, especially in the last 15 minutes or so, I feel like it was a little long, and like the story wrapped up, but then they kind of didn't stop it.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's a lot in between. And getting on to that, we're now the bad titles as well. They're not bad. They're just strange. It's like
they use like spray paint in neon colors, but it's just really poorly photoshopped, and they're just put in weird spots of the screen, and they like drip in parts where gravity wouldn't let them drip in regards to the paint.
Yeah,
they drip sideways. It's strange.
It's just a weird choice. I know it's kind of like the revolutionary atmosphere and stuff, and they're kind of trying to emulate that, but I felt it was a little like it kind of intruded on the movie. Whenever those titles comes up, it was very distracting, I felt. Yeah,
it was cool, but it just didn't feel in place. It kind of felt more modern than the setting and time period is.
Because everything else was very like that kind of old style sensibility. Well, not really, but you know.
Yeah. Also, because the movie's colors were so dark.
Yeah.
It's almost black and white in some places because there's a lot of dark colors.
I forgot to say that the soundtrack was good.
The soundtrack's amazing.
Yeah.
David Bowie and Queen are my weakness. It might have made me like this movie more, but the soundtrack is well used. It's kind of better out of context though.
Yeah. So now we're getting to the bad section. There are only a couple things here, but as you were saying before, contrived. Especially the second half. It's it doesn't really make sense. There are a lot of plot holes where everything kind of fits together, and then they throw some things at you which just make you go like, what? How does that work? And
just the balance of the story and the action scenes, considering that the second half is nearly all action scenes, just the way that they put the story together, it's kind of really hard to take in, and it doesn't make much sense until after you think about it. But after thinking about it, it doesn't make more sense. It's just a bit all over the place.
I still don't get it.
After second watch, I get it a bit more. But
yeah, because you saw this at the South by Southwest, right?
Yeah. I do feel like on my second watch that the festival hype was there. There were scenes where people would stand up, all 1,600 of them, and cheer and scream and laugh hysterically. But I think it's still, seeing this with a smaller audience, it still does it justice. It's still a fun time.
Yeah. And then finally, I think the movie as a whole was very exposition heavy.
Yeah.
It kind of leaned on it to make sure the points of the story were getting across, and a lot of it wasn't set up through visuals, because although the visuals in this movie are very good, they don't, a lot of the time, don't serve the story that much.
Yeah, they use a bit too much of the visual style. They put a lot of emphasis on it, and it kind of distracts from the rest of it. And yeah, a lot of it gets very jumbled, but it's still, there's still redeemable aspects.
By the way, we're in a mall, so I'm sorry. This is the only place we could record.
Somebody just robbed that store. I heard some beeping, maybe not.
So, would you like to say the out of 10 number?
We give this a 7.5 out of 10.
Woo-hoo.
I was gonna say like 7.7, but you guys don't do that.
Yeah, our only review with the decimal place that wasn't in the 0.5s was our first one, and then we decided to not.
Which one was that?
Doctor Strange. We gave it a 7.8. Is Doctor Strange better than this movie? I don't know. Well, another time. And then on our pretentiousness scale, we're giving this a movie, and I think it's a pretty good time. So
great time.
I would, overall recommend it.
Yeah. Maybe not at full price. There's some people who don't really like exposition and a lot of dialogue in their action movies. Maybe wait till you can see it at home and, pause it when you're getting tired of it. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So that's gonna be it for us, I think. Would you like to just promote the thing one more time?
The thing site. I am a writer for GetRealMovies.com. There's a lot of writers with us. We do features, reviews, and I believe someone has written an Atomic Blonde review as well, so check that out.
Yeah.
And I'm also Daniel_Asbel on Twitter.
Yeah, go follow him. And also follow Film and Stuff on... Okay, good night.
All the films and stuffs.
All right, and I think that's going to be all. So,
good review.
Have a great day, everyone, and goodbye. Subscribe.